Hey, Daniel.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hello, can you hear us?
Hi. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, we're recording. We're ready. Welcome, everybody. So this is our Woodland Hills Community Development Committee meeting. It's November 17th. It is 5:01. So let me mark that down as our start. I would like to call this meeting to order as the chairperson. Do a quick roll call. We have Brandy Johns, committee member. We have Lori Thomas, committee member. We have Carrie Malkovich, who is a city council member and liaison for the committee. And we have Severin Johnson, committee member and also liaison for the Planning Commission. And then online, we have Daniel Jensen with Sunrise Engineering, and it looks like Jeremy Searle. So we're so glad you could come. I'm so sorry. It's my fault that we had to move things around. I just had some personal things happening that made it difficult to keep our schedule the last few months. So thank you for being patient and for being here, Jeremy.
No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Wonderful. So I think that covers everybody, unless there's somebody I'm missing online or anything. Okay. First order of business, let's do approval of minutes from our previous meeting that was held on October 20th at 5 p.m. Those circulated shortly after our last meeting for those that were in attendance from the committee.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of October 20th.
I will write
I'll
you
second
down.
that.
Okay, vote to approve. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so my second was Brandy. And votes. Sorry, everybody. You're just going to have to be a little patient while I take notes because this saves me a lot of stress later for me trying to remember who did what. Okay, before we move on to our next order of business, Carrie, you wanted a few moments?
Yes, there was a little bit of discussion last time about, the purpose of our committee and who we report to and all of those things. And so Kirsten came and spoke to the last city council meeting and kind of asked for some direction in that, in her role as the chair and in the role of the committee as we go forward. And I read our operations and policy procedures for the Community Development Committee to the council. And I thought maybe it would be good for me to read it to all of you as well, and then submit it as part of the minutes for today's meeting. So the purpose of the committee is the Community Development Committee shall work with the City Council of the City of Woodland Hills to implement strategies for growth, including housing, transportation, recreational opportunities, and critical infrastructure while preserving the integrity and quality life of our community. The committee members shall have a chair and a secretary elected by the committee members at large and approved by the City Council. All of you are approved. A City Council member shall be designated as a liaison between the City Council and the committee. That is me. The committee shall be comprised of at least 5 members of the community and the council liaison. Responsibilities. The committee shall offer the City of Woodland Hills strategies and recommendations for projected growth resulting in a long-term, considerate, and comprehensible sustainability plan. The committee shall conduct the strategic process in 3 phases: visioning, planning, and implementation. The committee will assist the City Council in issuing an RFP to hire consultants who will help collect and implement the information in these 3 phases. The RFP will seek strategic communication professionals as well as professional planners. That's Daniel. The committee will gather research, conduct focus groups for residential input, and recommend strategies to enhance the city's vision and sustainability. The committee shall educate and encourage residents to participate in the overall process. The committee shall contribute articles, information, and oral briefings to the City Council and Planning Commission. The committee shall share all information gathered with the Woodland Hills Planning Commission for consideration as they update the Woodland Hills General Plan. This will include recommendations for potential ordinance updates. The committee will regularly send reports to the UDOT grant liaison. Daniel does that for us. So overall, I just wanted you to know that you report to the city council. The planning commission will do their due diligence in this. They'll take this document that we have and they'll work it over. But the council did approve that they would like to see both documents. They would like to see our document, and then if the whatever planning commission decides to change would be a strike through with then additional information in another color, so that we're not just having to look at two things at the same time. And then we, as a council, may or may not like any of it and come up with our own stuff, but usually we take into consideration all the information that has been given. So I wanted you to know that that's where we're at in this. I suspect, Daniel, that this committee would still, after this process, as it turns over to the Planning Commission, would still work together to help form the strategic plan, which would also then be given to the council. As you know, the general plan is the long-term overall vision. The strategic plan is saying, okay, if this is our vision, what are the short-term goals and strategic plan that we put in place to implement some of these articles in here? Otherwise, it's not a living document. So I just wanted to just refresh your memory on who you report to, what your role is, and your responsibilities, and also so that Daniel would know what those were as well. So I will submit that to you to put with your minutes for today,
Wonderful.
in case anyone has a question. Do any of you have questions? No. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Next order of business, discuss general plan, and hopefully move toward approving a final version to send to the Planning Commission. Daniel, thank you for sharing with us those different sections. You have Jeremy on. Do you want to review anything with this before we move forward?
Yeah, with Jeremy on, let's start by talking about the recreation and trails. So chapter.
Do you mind screen sharing again for us so that we can
Sure,
review while you're talking?
that would be splendid. Let me do that.
Is this
And-
in section 1 or 2 of the documents you sent us? Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, and so to catch Jeremy up, Jeremy, when we talked about, we've discussed this in the last few meetings. It's come up here and there as we've looked at the whole general plan, and the committee had some questions. I did my best to answer. I've done my best to make sure that the general plan is aligned with the information I got from you, Jeremy, earlier, and from Ted. Ted's reviewed it and made sure that they are consistent with each other. But with you here, I know that there are some questions from the committee. I will let the committee know, first of all, I took all the edits from before, and you should have an updated draft of both parts 1 and 2. I don't see, this is the one that had edits, so I don't think there were really many edits at all to chapter 6. It looks like there weren't any edits in chapter 6. But while Jeremy's here, if you have questions for Jeremy about the trail study, about what they're doing, what they're looking at, where they're at, all of that, I think this is a good time to talk about it. So I'll just give it to you guys and Jeremy to talk about the trail study real quick and how it relates to this general plan. So
Different question. Is it called the Meadows Park? I've never heard it called that.
It's Lawrenson Field.
Well, just the field is, it's not, the park isn't Lauritsen Park.
It's just the Woodland Hill City Park.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it used to be called the
Something like
Meadows
that.
before it was developed and made into a park, but some people still call it the Meadows, but it's the Woodland Hill City Park.
yeah, we've had some different names on that one. So right now, I put Lauritsen Field because that's what I was told to put. We have City Park. We just call it the Woodland Hill City Park, Woodland Hill City Park Trails.
Yeah, up on that second page that you had on the
The map.
The map, right there on number 1 of the map, it says Meadows Park.
Oh, we didn't change that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that needs to be changed to
Yeah,
Woodland
we
Hills
can-
Park.
Yeah.
Does he say, does that mean that Lauritsen Field should match that and say
I
Woodland
think
Hills
it
City
should say Woodland Hills Park, not
Yeah.
Lauritsen Field,
Yeah.
because there's the field and there's a
Yeah,
playground. and those are
Lauritsen
all-
Field is the
It's part of
field
the park.
within the park.
So
So
what should we
hopefully
put
on the
here?
map where it says Lauritsen Field should say Woodland Hills City Park.
So we should put that here too, Woodland Hills City Park?
Yeah,
Okay.
Do we need
Yeah, we can do that.
well,
What's-
it is a city park. Because there could be developments that have their own little parks in the future. So this one is the city park.
Should this be Woodland Hills City Park Trails? Or should we just call it City Park Trails?
Is it trails or is it just a trail?
Well, it'll be one long trail that I guess would be considered different trails because there's one around the park that's current.
Kind of
And then
loops.
if they get the one on Woodland Hills Drive, that might be
Should say
considered
something about park, yeah.
something. So I would just say,
Woodland Hills.
because you have Woodland Hills City Trail and then Woodland Hills City Park Trails, because there is a little trail that goes around the park.
Yeah,
So just City Park Trail or
City Park Trails, City Park Trail. I don't know, whatever you guys want.
I think it's only one trail around it, right?
I think it's only
So
one.
Woodland Hills City Park Trail.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's really a completed trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess probably this trail system that Jeremy is studying would connect that trail with this proposed trail.
Correct. And it would also tie down to the trail along 11200, which is a comment, Daniel, that you have 11200 on the map, correct? But where it says number 2, I think you need another 1 there, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, is it 1-1? No, it says 11200.
Oh, is it 1-1? Sorry, I'm on a small screen. You have it right.
there you go.
Okay, perfect.
Well, Jeremy, there was questions last time about this connecting into Three Bridges and if we need to put anything in this document about the potential for that. Is there anything on your radar that you feel like for this document at this time that we should do that? To be honest, my thinking was that's still kind of under development and fluid, so I'm hesitant to put something in the document that's, maybe not going to get completed or might change or something. So what was your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. And I have a few thoughts on that. Daniel, are you okay if I share
Yeah,
my screen? All right, got a few things. So I'm gonna give sorry, I'm sharing my screen. I'll give a little bit of background here and then we'll talk about Three Bridges for a second. So Woodland Hills got a grant to study this trail. This trail has been on the general plan for several years. It is also on MAG's long range plan. So if you can see my screen still, this is MAG's regional transportation plan. You can see the Woodland Hills Trail on that. So I just want to point that out, that it's not just your city plan. This is actually a regional plan. And then many of you may have heard of the governor's initiative to have a regional trail system throughout the whole state. He calls it the Utah Trail Network. And UDOT has been taking the lead on that. And we've actually been helping them. And it just so happens that now this Woodland Hills Trail is also on the Utah Trail Network master plan that just recently came out. And so I just want to point this out, that this is not just a city idea or a local idea, but this is on statewide plans, okay? And that's a good thing, because I understand that Woodland Hills may not be able to pay for this on their own, but there is regional funding through MAG and statewide funding potential for this. So I just want to point that out and give a little background here. So Woodland Hills got this grant to study this, and so we are looking at this. High level, our study area is looking at the trail from the roundabout up Woodland Hills Drive past the city building, connecting up to the park, and then down Summit Creek back to 11200 to tie in, and there will be a trail along 11200. So let's talk about Three Bridges for a second. So a couple thoughts on this. One, I just showed those regional and local plans. Right now, the plan is for it to come along 11200, down Woodland Hills Drive, and then up into the city to make that loop through the city and connect that to the surrounding area. So Three Bridges is not shown on any of those other plans. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't connect to it, right? It is good to connect to lots of different places, including new planned developments. It is outside the city, right? And so it's in Salem. So showing things on Woodland Hills plans doesn't necessarily hold Salem to that. But again, connectivity is never a bad thing. If we want to show it, now is the time, because not only are we doing that plan, but the county is redesigning this roundabout, and you guys are probably aware of that, but Ted has been meeting with them. They're redesigning the roundabout to reconstruct that. And Three Bridges is doing their roadway through here with a new mailbox that'll be on the north end of this, and this will connect into Three Bridges. And so we would need that trail to come down past the church around the roundabout and then tie in through their system. And right now, my understanding is they do not have a trail on this road. I think they have, and Carrie probably knows
Jeremy,
more.
just so you know that the road will be owned by Woodland Hills all the way until our property line, which is at the end of the 10 acres that that Three Bridges owns in our city limits. And so we might as well at least do it on our portion. This hasn't all been worked out about the road and the moving. As most of you know, Woodland Hills does not own the roundabout, the county does. And so, but we would own the road that goes through there over to their property. The developer, Larry Myler, has said multiple times at council meetings that his trail system would connect to Woodland Hills. So I assume that it will be on that road.
He also talked about it connecting farther south, like up in the high part.
So it could be on either spot, depending on how it's given to us. So so that's where we're at, and that no plans have been given to us. It's all high level at this point, but it looks inevitable that the roundabout will be expanded and that road will be a Woodland Hills Road all the way to the border. And then, so it makes sense that if we're going to have a trail system to the roundabout, that we, if the funding comes through, we would do our trail to that boundary.
I feel like in section B of this chapter, especially, I mean, some of them get kind of specific, but even point 4 says explore new opportunities for trail connections through new growth areas. In my opinion, I think that's sufficient to kind of cover some of these areas that are around us and growing and changing, that the city is interested in these trail connections, without maybe us getting more specific than that of it has to be this specific road, or because it sounds like some of that is not quite concrete. Does that feel like those goals are sufficient for this?
Also, Jeremy, isn't it true with the funding, because part of the funding is showing with the governor's Utah Trails Network wants to show how each city will connect to the other city. And so that's part of the funding mechanism. Potential funding would be that it's not just in our city, but that on one side we'll connect eventually into Elk Ridge and on this side into Salem. And So
Correct.
I don't know
So-
how we do that because we don't know exactly where that trail would meet up in the other communities, but we need to make sure that everyone is aware that that's the intention so that we don't stop ourselves from funding.
So, Carrie, you're right. Part of it is this regional connectivity. But we do know where trails are planned in this area, right? So for example, 11200 has a trail planned along it, and it will come all the way along 11200. And in fact, there's future plans for this road to continue west, curve down through these orchards, and hit this new road that'll hit I-15, and there'll be a trail all the way along that. There's also trail connectivity with Salem Canal Road. They just have improved that trail along Salem Canal. Highline Canal is planned to be a paved trail in the future. That's on the county's radar to work on next. And then all the way down Woodland Hills Drive is planned to be the paved trail all the way down and then tie in up into the Salem, or not Salem, the Spanish Fork River Trail. So we are connecting regionally, and we are making sure that we're showing that, and then that's part of the plan. Locally, that connection is right here to 11200, but that will actually get you to Spanish Fork and beyond, or Payson and beyond. So
Great. Well, that's exactly what residents wanted was trails, trails, trails. So this is exciting.
yeah.
Jeremy, is there
Um,
anything else you want us to
I-
know or be aware
I
of?
do want to just give you a quick overview. I know that this isn't my meeting, it's Daniel's, but
No,
if I
this
could
is
just
helpful.
take
This is great.
5 minutes, that would be helpful. So we've been looking at the feasibility of this trail, and coming up with a concept design for it. That kind of sets the stage to get funding to actually construct the trail or do some right-of-way preservation. And so this feasibility study will look at this. So I have, well, let's start here. So we've actually split this into 3 segments. And we've got segment 1, which is from the city building up to the park. Segment 2, which is down to the roundabout. And then segment 3, which is down Summit Creek. And so we're looking at each of those, and we have concept designs for them. We've looked a lot at right of way and what's available and what's not. And let me come back to this. I can give you just a high level look here. So let's look at segment 1. So segment 1 is from the city building up to the park. If we look at Woodland Hills Drive, on the north side of the road, we need at least 12 feet. And if we look at that, we have 96% of the right of way that we need to get 12 feet to fit that trail in next to the road, if that makes sense.
Nice.
Yep.
If we look at a connection up to the park, so up Loafer Drive up to the park, again, we need a minimum of 12 feet. We have 81% of that right of way available. And let me show some images of what that might look like. We've done a couple of concept layouts. So this is actually going up Loafer right to the park. The park's right up here, if you can see this screen.
Mhm.
And this is the existing road, and this is just kind of photoshopped in, but we would redo the ditch, or the berm
Yeah,
here,
rock
the
line
rock line
ditch.
ditch, and we would pave that trail adjacent to it to get people up there. Another view, let's see if I've got that here.
So Jeremy, also on that map, it showed a connection from the park to the switchback trail. Would that be is that part of this study as well, or the proposal?
That we have not, let me zoom in here. We did not go further than the park. This study had kind of a set scope. And so
Okay.
what we did is we looked at the trail coming up along Loafer and then tying into the existing trails at the park. I agree that it needs to tie up into the switchbacks, but that's not something that we've looked at as part of this. We've been focused on this kind of loop through the city.
Okay.
let me show you one other image here. This is going up Woodland Hills Drive, so just north of the, or excuse me, south of the roundabout, but going up the hill. We kind of show that trail adjacent to the road, kind of snaking up the hill there.
So will the trail on Woodland Hills Drive be on the, what, east side?
Yeah.
It would be on the east side. Yes, correct. And so, great question. We're looking at right away. That's the biggest thing. We don't want to have to go and buy right away from all these homes and people along here. So we're trying to be as minimize impacts as much as possible. So when we go back to our design, let's see, let's go down to phase 2. Well, let's look right here. So what we do is we actually come up Woodland Hills Drive on the east side. You can kind of see that here. We round the corner. We've got the trail right here next to the parking lot. And then we actually cross over to the south or north side of the road. Excuse me, north side. Right
After
here
we
by
get to the city center.
Yeah, you can see
Is
that.
that,
So we would have,
is that a safe place because it's right around the corner? How do we, I mean, everybody
we
right now
talked-
seems to go
yeah,
around
we
there
talked a
really
lot
fast.
about that. We didn't want it right here at the corner, so we moved it back. We talked with Ted a lot about this. This would also have those flashing beacons to notify
Oh,
drivers,
good.
and warning signs and crosswalks and things. So we'd really want to make this a safe crossing. That's really important. But the reason we cross it over is if you look along here, see where the right-of-way lines are, these orange. We don't have the right-of-way on this side, but we do on the other.
When they put the road in, they didn't really consider that, and so it goes where it like water, where it was the least resistance, and so there
Yeah.
are some places that it goes right into people's property.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's city property, right? But you're right, Carrie, that the road is not centered in the right of way. It kind of swings back and forth. And so as we laid this out, we really tried to take advantage of where we have available right of way. Because we don't want to have to purchase that. And so let me look.
And so the
Right
creek
here.
should
So
be so much better because modern engineering and surveying.
yes. The old surveys were fairly off, I would say, but these are a lot better. So we went out and got this. So you can kind of see the trail here. We've got enough right of way, comes across all the way along Woodland Hills Drive. And so we've laid out a good concept design. We've got the drainage laid out here, shown how fill and different things, fill slopes would be needed. I'm gonna move all the way up here to, oops.
And how do you navigate around some of the other underground things that are in the right of ways, like the power or the fiber or any of that, to make sure that the trail doesn't have to be dug up every time something needs repaired?
Yeah, great question. Underground, it's actually not a bad thing to have it under or near the trail, because they don't get trees and other things in the way, and they can easily patch that. But we do have to watch out for utility boxes and things like that, and so some of those will need to be relocated to allow for the trail. But not a huge problem if there is Google Fiber under the trail.
All right.
So, and we've looked at that. So anyway, we've got this whole concept design. We've got some crosswalks at key locations. We connect up here to the park right by the mayor's house. Anyway, so we've really done a lot of work here. We're going to be summarizing all this in a feasibility report and providing that to the city. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from Ted and Wayne. I've met with oh, my mind just went blank on the trails
Sherry?
committee. Sherry,
Sherry?
thank you, sorry. Sherry Berger. Met with Sherry a couple times and talked about it. So I think, we've got some good information here that we're trying to wrap up and put in here. So we would love any feedback or comments or ideas. But
I like that you kept it on the front of people's yards instead of, in the past, sometimes they wanted to go in between
Yep.
or behind people's homes, and there was a lot of safety concerns there. So I appreciate that you've kept it on the main roads so that we can maintain that level of safety, since it is
Definitely.
connecting into a wider network.
Privacy.
Yes, and
Jeremy-
that was a big topic of conversation. And I see people all the time walking on these roads in the street, and I keep thinking how much safer it'll be for people if they have their own dedicated trail, paved trail along the side of the road to
Absolutely.
walk on.
So realistically, when do you think we would see this trail completed? Will I
great
live that long?
question.
Will we be alive to
It's gonna
see
take a
it?
while.
I want to walk on it.
No, this feasibility study is really important because it sets kind of the steps for that. The fact that it's on both the regional and the Utah Trail Network is really good because you can get funding. So the first step would be corridor preservation, whether that's done as a city or whether, when things develop. So I'll give another example. Ted has mentioned that there's a property along Woodland Hills Drive right here, I believe, that is looking to subdivide and develop through here. And when that happens, this is a location where we're missing a little bit of right of way, right? And so if they could dedicate, 10 feet or so, or even less along here to fit that trail in, that's key. And so that's something that the city can do when they subdivide, is adjust that lot line along here to get that extra 10 feet. So right of way preservation's the first step. The second is then applying for funding in those different segments that I outlined up above. So you're not going to be able to do the whole thing at once, but starting with maybe segment 1 and applying for funding and doing that piece of the trail, and then segment 2. So it's going to take 10 plus years for this to happen, but you got to plan for it now.
So the phases are segment 1, segment 2, segment 3.
Correct.
So you can still ride your e-bike,
Yeah.
or your
Somebody
kids can
could
push
push
you.
me in a
Yeah.
wheelchair. Yeah.
Get a jazzy. Well, this is exciting.
Yeah.
A little bit, just a hair off subject, but I was in meetings with other cities who have trails that abut state or federal lands, and that there's a kind of not a push, but a new process of having your trails extend onto there if you're willing to do the upkeep. Our switchback trail does go onto state property. Is there any talk about expanding that into other areas, or is it not really a connectivity trail to somewhere else?
You're talking up into federal ground?
Yeah, just the switchback trails. I know that there are other communities who have bench areas that have been, I don't know if it's a MOU or what it would be onto state and federal lands on extending their trail systems from their city property up into other existing. And I didn't know if that was something that we should have our Parks and Trail Committee look into a little bit more, or if you would know anything about that.
That's a great question. So we're not specifically looking at in this study, but
Right.
you're right. That is a common thing that's happening. And the Switchback Trail is a great example and possibly extending that. I also know that Elk Ridge is very excited about trails, in particular Melanie Paxton on the city council. I've talked to her quite a few times. She would love to connect up through here somewhere. In fact, there's the emergency exit that she often points to. She would love to connect that and up into Elk Ridge and along the foothills here. And there's opportunity to get all the way up into Forebay and different things. So certainly I think there are opportunities that should be explored.
Any other questions? Jeremy, any other discussion you want us to?
I think that's it for me. If you do have any more thoughts or ideas on this trail in particular, or just trails in general, please let me know, or reach out to Ted and he can pass it on to me. But we're really excited about this feasibility study. We're making good progress on it, and we're hopeful to have a draft of this for people to look at here in the near future. So.
Great. Thank you for your work on it. This is going to be very
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
As people
That's
who
great.
like to walk on
Yes.
these roads a lot with our dogs and kids, this
Yeah.
is welcome. So,
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
okay. Daniel, anything else to review or discuss?
Not particularly. I went through the rest. So that's really it for trails, right? So Jeremy, you can jump off, I imagine, unless you want to stay on and listen.
Okay,
But
thank
yeah,
you.
with the rest of what?
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay.
Jeremy.
Bye.
So yeah, I went through all of part 1, part 2, all the edits. We've updated the document. Everything should be in there. So hopefully you all saw the updated document, and yeah, I don't know if you guys have questions or comments on what you saw.
Committee, any questions?
I do. Let's see. Okay, chapter 8, the very beginning of page 83 says current conditions.
Oh, yeah. Water usage.
Yeah, so it says the city has metered water usage since 2016. And we go back to 2009 on the billing software that we use now, and I imagine there was some before, so I don't
Oh,
think that's true.
okay. That's from
I mean,
when it was
that-
reported to the state on the state's website.
Okay.
But I can put whatever you'd like there.
I mean, we've metered the water usage since at least 2009, probably earlier, but I don't know when. Or maybe
Okay.
just say the state has reported.
Yeah,
Water
the city
usage.
has reported
The city has reported.
to the state
Yeah.
since.
Because maybe the state didn't require it to be reported before then. I mean, we're one of the few cities that actually have been metering our water, and they have
Other
new.
cities don't.
Most cities don't, and so they've changed the
You-
law to talk about that with different with
Daniel.
different cities. And so in fact, today we talked a little bit about
So they
water.
just charge a flat rate for water no matter how much you use?
They don't have any tiered systems or anything. And so the state is actually going to be requiring cities. So I'm in these discussions and I'm like, what do you mean you don't have a tiered watering system? And they're like, nope. And I said, we've been doing it for a long time,
Wow.
a few decades.
Do you want it to say the city has reported metered water usage to the state since at least 2016? Or do you want it to just say since?
Yeah, that would be
I like the
good.
way you said it, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Easy
and then
edit.
chapter 9, on page 97. The second column, it says property owners connecting to the sewer system are required to pay a connection fee to Payson City. They actually pay that to Woodland Hills.
Pass through to what?
Yeah, and then Woodland Hills pays Payson, but the property owners actually pay Woodland Hills.
Let's just say pay connection fee, period.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. And then we don't
Because
have to worry about who it's to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then chapter 10 on page 108. I just didn't understand this. I need some explaining. So on at the top of the page where it says justification for excluding from the expansion area. So does this mean that we would not annex into the city a little high density section?
So what this is saying is, are there any quote, urban developments within a half mile of the municipal boundary. I think the implication here is that they are currently unincorporated. It doesn't state that, which is kind of weird. But then it defines urban development in one of these two ways. So housing development with 15 residential units and this average density greater than 1 residential per unit, or a commercial or industrial development for which cost projections exceed $750,000 for all phases. Kind of strange. So are there any of these urban developments within a half mile of the municipal boundary that are not incorporated? And the answer is no. There are
Well,
not.
we do have some. I mean, we're across from the Stake Center, that's still in unincorporated county land and considered a pocket. And it could eventually,
So-
they could say,
What if?
you know, you need to go
Yeah.
into Salem, you need to go into Woodland Hills, you need to go into Elk Ridge.
Yes,
That
that's
part is unincorporated.
yeah, that's institutional development versus commercial or industrial, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's just showing you that there are spots around Woodland Hills, but
Mhm.
very few, because most of them have annexed in one place or another.
Okay, so
And we've got
why,
another one over on Elk Ridge,
Yeah,
where,
that one place.
where
Yep.
she didn't want to come in with the rest.
The rest of them all joined that are on Loafer Canyon Road.
Yeah.
One person chose not to.
Right.
so, I mean, is it best to have in the plan saying we will not annex them? I mean, why not? Maybe, wouldn't
You can't
that ever
do
be a
that.
possibility?
The law says
The
that
law says no.
that's state law right there,
Okay.
that it is. It's not ours. And they're also updating the annexation laws, probably this legislative session. But it will allow us to, hopefully, it's giving cities more flexibility with annexation, that you don't have to annex, that you have a choice.
Okay, and so the state law is the one that came up with that 750,000, because that's just like one house. That's
Yeah, that's,
much of a.
that's Utah Code 10-2-401. Although all of as far as I know, Daniel, didn't all the Utah Code 10 switch to Utah Code 20? So
Yeah,
those links are
just
now
last
broken.
week.
Yeah, last week. So all those links are broken. So we
Yep.
might to make sure that anytime we mention 10, that we've changed it to 20, because those
Yeah,
links are no longer there.
They renumbered within it as well, so it's even more complicated than just switching the 10.9A to 10.20.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure how to really do this. We could just in the document say that all code citations are as of October 2025. Because they'll update, because right now the links are broken, as Carrie said. They're going to fix that so we can type in the old link and it will hyperlink to the new one. But right now I have to go and cross-reference through a separate PDF and try to find where it is, because it's not sequential. They reordered things as well. They brought things from different sections and brought it within LUDMA, which is the Land Use Development Management Act. So it would take a while because they don't have the live links. So I don't know.
I just think that we should maybe note it as it goes forward to the Planning Commission and then to the City Council, because one of the things that they've asked us to do is to kind of keep track of our documents and our time that it will take for our city to update all of our documents to this new number. Because as Daniel said, it's not just as easy as saying, oh, this link will take you here. Now we have to go through because it's a whole different number, and we want to show them when you pass stuff and you don't really think down the line, it impacts us financially. And so they want us to keep track of any documents that we'll have to change and redo and update with time, and then put a dollar amount to that so the legislature will know this unfunded mandate that they've given to us and what that will be. So let's just consider it and maybe put a note somewhere in there. So as it goes to Planning Commission and then to the council, these things will have, I mean, they're implemented. They was passed last week. It'll be forward as we go forward, just so that it's noted that we knew that we have not yet changed any of those numbers because of cost and time and whatever.
Yeah, I think this was good right here, like at the beginning where we talk about state code. to say,
Mhm.
and then I can put a thing right after it, like Utah State Code was renumbered in November 2025 or something like that. Or I can just leave it with
I think that that
the
it was
first
renumbered,
sentence.
so I think you need to leave that part in there so that as we get to, 6 months down the road and we need to do our edits, by then maybe those links won't be broken and we'll be able to put the new numbers in.
Yep. All Utah Code citations in this general plan are as of October 25, the prior numbering system, something like that, right? So people know. And I can put this in a box so it like pops. So people,
Yeah.
that way
I think
people
that
know.
would be great.
Mhm.
And that way the planning commission is aware that we're aware, and then when it finally gets to the council,
Right.
we're aware.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you,
Anything
Sarah.
else? Lori? Okay. Brandy?
No?
Severin? No? Daniel?
No, the only,
Well, the biggest change was the dark skies. I think that's where we cut the most stuff out.
Yeah.
Are we good with where it landed?
Tell us what page that's on, just so we can double check.
Um,
Because I
Oh,
did
I
not.
thought-
put
I
the
thought we
thing
threw it in land use. Where is it? Oh, right here. So it's on page 41, goal
Okay.
1, D.
out. Page 40.
So we cut out a lot, and now there are just 2 goals. And for comparison, I'll bring up the old one. So the
Yes,
last
we've
one
had a
had,
lot of people calling us and talking to us, at least to me about that. And I think people, as we've discussed last time, people want a night sky or a dark sky in as a like a Kleenex into a tissue. They just say the name, but not necessarily want
Right.
Dark Sky International per se. They just know that they want it to
I don't think we
be.
want to be held to the rules, but we want the intention.
Yes, and so just as we think about that,
So I like how we've kind of changed things to night skies and it's just a little more open of just encourage but
yeah, because if you read the international rules for dark sky, they are draconian.
yeah. Yeah, we don't want to hold ourselves to somebody else's rules or checklists, so.
yeah, I think with this, I agree with the size of our city now and having to deal with code enforcement and such. I think our best approach is just for this to be that this is a important thing to this city and important thing to the residents, but we're not going to put in the general plan that we are wanting additional policy or code or whatever to be put into place for the city. So I think that's where it landed. I feel good about where those goals are right now. So thank you for cleaning that up based on our last meeting.
yep.
Okay, well, if there's no further discussion, I would motion to approve this version of the general plan to send to the planning commission.
Contingent on the things that we added tonight.
Correct, thank you. Contingent on some of those grammar and a few sentences and things that we talked about tonight being added in, so it would be the version as amended tonight.
Great. I second that.
Okay, so all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Great, all right, so I motioned. So seeing that the vote was
So the
unanimous,
final draft of the the Community Development Committee's recommendation.
so wait, are you saying what I should say?
I'm just thinking
The
that.
final draft of the Community Development Committee General Plan recommendation will be ready to submit to the Planning Commission for their review and onward with the process. So, very exciting and thank you all for your time. Everybody has just been so helpful. in reviewing all of this and making sure that we're providing as clean and clear a document as possible. So I thank you all for the time.
We're not done though.
But I know we're not done, but up to this point, your time, because I know that this is a volunteer effort on behalf of the city and I
think it's
very much
fabulous.
appreciate it, so.
It's a fabulous plan. But
Okay,
Daniel, for
seconded
time
by-
frame, when do you want them to then reconvene you to start the strategic plan?
That's a really
January?
good question. Do we need to wait until the city council has adopted the general plan, or are we comfortable enough with the vision here that we want to start thinking more about the strategic goals?
I think we should start
I think we
because
should.
I think that then by the time the city council gets it in 6 months or whenever, it's going to be fresh on their mind, our mind, and we'll want to go right into strategic planning and not wait. And so if it's kind of lined up to go in that order, then any changes that are necessary can be done quicker.
Yeah, and I think that there's interest in seeing these things as companions or at least related, right? So I think it'll help with some confusion if we start it
Fresh on your
earlier.
mind.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Okay.
So, let's see. In terms of,
What groundwork do you need to do in order to kind of get a framework draft to then, have us involved?
I think strategic plan is going to require a little bit more feedback from the committee and the council, because these are going to be what the city's priorities are, what they want to jump in and work on now, right? What are the 1 to 3, 1 to 5 year action items, right? And so they're a little bit less of like, what are the big picture or what are best practices? A lot of things that I can do. With the general plan, it's a lot of me collecting data, doing general plan best practices, right? Like discussing with you and trying to, as a consultant, say, hey, here are things that communities similar to you do, and yada yada. With a strategic plan, we're going to look in and say, okay, now what do you guys want to focus on? What are your priorities? What's the council's priorities? So I guess what I'm
And
getting at is
also,
I
I
think it
guess-
would be good to kind of have a kick, like an in-person type
Mm-hmm.
powwow to discuss it, right? And come
I
with
think
their
so. And
ideas.
also maybe coming, if we had something at the beginning of the new year, maybe get through the holidays,
Mhm.
having some sort of strategic plan outline. I sent you something the other day, and just as a framework, sometimes just having a
Yep.
framework of knowing what we're looking for as a broad picture, then we kind of put in the things that we've been doing with this general plan. I think it lends itself to, if you have a structure in place on what you're going to put in instead of starting at ground zero.
Right. Yeah, with an implementation metrics, I like Carrie's suggesting, I can create the framework and then coordinate with the committee to have each of the individual members designate where their priorities are, what they think, what, yeah.
Do you
Maybe
think
something
January
like
is a
that.
good goal then?
Yeah, I think January is a good goal.
Is this something that, like, are you gonna meet with council or email or whatever? I'm not clear on, is it just our meeting and then how is that working?
Yeah, that's a good question, because really these are the council's priorities and the council strategies. And I know you had an election just this month. So how much turnover is there on council? Are there 2 spots that are changing?
Yeah, 2 council spots that will be changing and a mayor spot that will be changing.
Oh, yeah. And
The one councilman moved up to the mayor's spot, so we will be appointing someone to fulfill his council seat in January.
okay.
So we don't know who that person would be. My thoughts on it as council liaison is you kind of get a feel as this committee on what the priorities have been as you've been going through things. You had your public hearing, you had the visioning and the focus groups at that town hall meeting. You know which things people said that they were focusing on. So in my mind, you come together with this framework of what you think is important based on feedback and all of your behind the scenes work. And then you say to the council, here's some steps, here's the framework. These are the things that we saw were important, because we'll have just gone through that general plan by the time you finish what you would like to recommend to us, because your strategic plan doesn't go to the planning commission. It comes straight here to the council. So if you have a framework of things that you think would be good, you give it to us and we say, well, we were also kind of thinking about this. Then we're only having to change one or two things, not starting from scratch again.
Right. Well, I think trails would be like an obvious one. But so Daniel, what if we do a little bit of both, knowing that there's a new council and holidays and the planning commission's now taking this general plan and some of the timeline and all of that being in motion. What if we at least present what that strategic plan
Framework.
process will look like in January? Present to them like, this is what we need from you. This is maybe based on, like what Carrie's saying, based on some of the feedback we've received up to this point. These are the priorities we would think are aligning with what you've asked for or residents have asked for, like trail.
I don't think they'll be ready for that at the council because they won't have seen the general plan yet. We don't see it until after the planning commission does it.
Right, so I'm just suggesting that we just present to them that this is the process, just to get them thinking. And then Daniel, maybe then 2 months or something from there, ideally they've seen the general plan by then, and then maybe we can solidify things a little bit more because they've then had time to think it over. Does it feel okay to kind of at least present to them like, this is the process, this is what we will need from you, just to get them thinking, so we're not just springing it on them and then expecting answers at the same hour?
Yeah,
We can give it time.
I think what I can do for you is over the course of the next few weeks, so by sometime in December, come up with a framework of how to approach the strategic plan and come up with a framework of what we'll need from the committee members to fill in like an implementation matrix, to come up with additional action items, to break down some of these goals a little bit more into really concrete, actionable steps, right? And in a January meeting, we can come together, you can bring some of your ideas, and we can start fleshing out that framework. And in January, February, we can work as a committee, we can come up with some of the concrete steps that we can take off to discuss with staff as well, or maybe we have staff join in on some of these meetings, however we want to do that. And perhaps we catch up, and by the time planning commission's ready to have the general plan go to council, we have both documents ready. I don't know about that, but I think that's what I could do. I think within the next month, I can come up with that framework, right? That gives us the template to fill out and take from there in a January and February meeting. Does that sound like a good timeline?
I think that does. I will ask Jody if January 12th or the 26th would work, being that there's a holiday in between those two, for us to hold another meeting.
Okay.
Is there an issue for you, Daniel, with either of those dates?
Nope, that should work.
Okay, I'll find out availability for that and then send out an update of what our next meeting time will be for our committee to kind of start that part of the process. But I like the idea of them kind of working together a little bit, but I also want to
I do have it
give
on my
everybody.
calendar for the 26th, so I think she would probably have it on her calendar.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping to get it a little bit sooner. That's why I'm wondering about the 12th, but typically we've done them on the last Monday of the month.
Yeah.
Do we feel like it's better to have that extra time?
Either one works well for me.
I don't know if it matters too much. I think really part of this is this idea of, like I gave you your goals and your responsibilities is to take initiative, not to just wait for what the council says they want to do, but also take initiative of what you've learned in this process on what the priorities of the community have been. And then that way, if it needs, when it needs refined, it makes it a little bit easier because we have a lot of other responsibilities.
Right.
So we don't want to start from the ground on this. And where this has already been your main focus, I think it would help to just be able to have a structure in place, that framework, but actually some concrete things in that structure that says, we think these might be your priorities. And then the council can say, you're right, that is, based on, we just read the general plan, we're ready to approve it. We agree, but let's tweak it here, here, and here without starting at ground zero.
Got it.
I think that would be more helpful because it's in your thought and we have a lot of documents in our brains.
Well, I think that aligns with kind of what we've laid out just now. So Daniel, okay, well, everybody, we will, I motion to adjourn.
You know,
Second
the
up.
chairman really should not. Chairman should not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I motion to
Alrighty.
adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
So next meeting will either be January 12th or 26th.
Yep, I will talk to
I will
Joe.
send you a couple of frameworks.
Awesome.
And I mean, you'll be able to look and